So now you can see, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Great. I think I just opened what Good Level Leru Engineering College, some couple of documents from there. Let me close this part here. Somewhere I thought I opened two of them. Team 5, Team 2. Okay. Let me put the chat here. Change is must. Yeah. Can you imagine? I'm thinking of a joke here. Imagine having a bad day with spouse or something like that. You go and tell the spouse, change is must. I wonder how that would be taken. Change is must. You're right. Okay. So, no questions from students? No comments? I can't see anybody's video today. Let me turn on my video at least. Okay, I don't see any video. GC. I see Chakravarti Garu. I see GEC now. Perfect. Okay, student show of hands. How many of you think, let me see if I can see their video completely. There's a way of maximizing it. Sometimes I do not know how to do those things. So let's see. If I do like that, show of hands for students. How many of you think you did well in the test? How many of you think you did well in the test? How many people are raising the hands? I think you have to raise it a little bit higher. That way I can see. Right now I cannot see. I can just see a small thumbnail. Participants. There's a way of making that. Okay. So somebody's paper I opened here. Swati and Shravana Kalyani. Are they there in the class today? I can't see the hands, but hopefully you're there. I'm just curious what they have done. This all looks ask. Ask pin number. Okay, got it. Okay. Looks like this is how you draw this. I saw a lot of people drawing a use case thing like this, which is quite okay. Part of the modeling. I also saw a lot of people were pretty clean on drawing the diagram too. I just did a quick check. This was an interesting problem statement about adopt a village. I saw a variety of answers actually on this one, which was a very good sign. Whether you did some internet research and then or talk to. Did anyone take any suggestions, or did anyone from GEC ask questions of faculty members to write their problem statement? Did somebody? Today I'm not able to see any of your images much, so but it's pretty good. But and then agile methodology, of course, hopefully that gave you an opportunity to review what you do it. But I would have preferred a little bit more objective things about the steps. right? The steps is about for asking about a solution. Uh, it's okay. I mean, I would not deduct points for this one. But when I went down somewhere here, I like this diagram too, the way the activity diagram came. Uh, Somewhere here down, when they wrote an algorithm, I thought that was an interesting one. I don't know which one was that. No, this one is a pretty good algorithm. No. Yeah, this one. Yeah, yeah. See this one here? By the way, when I'm discussing these things, I'm just doing it at random, okay? I'm not picking on any students or anyone, right? I just clicked on some diagrams, right? This one caught my attention actually. When I was having my dinner, I thought, let me look at this one, right? Interesting algorithm, right? If budget is greater than requirements, solve the problem. Okay, else ask some more days to solve the problem. Okay. Uh, can you explain to me what you mean by that? If you are in the classroom, if you have a mic which is working. Everybody's silent today. Why? Am I asking the wrong questions or what? Okay. If you cannot explain, if the students are not there, let me ask rest of the students. Faculty member are welcome to join the conversation too. So you have a this is supposed to be an algorithm, right? What do you make out of that algorithm given by students there? By the way, again, this is not to nitpick students or anything like that. This is only to bring out some points. All of you did a great job. So this is all like a learning process, right? So who wants to comment on that algorithm that I'm showing you on the screen? Any students want to come forward first before we ask input from faculty members? Is the video coming from Ideal? Are there students there today or not? Okay, GC, come on. You're always very active. So who wants to comment on that? Let's pick one student. I vaguely see some girl or a boy with some kind of a pink thing in the back, not the faculty member with the pink, but there's somebody there sitting with the pink. So can somebody give the microphone to that student? Mic to the student? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, so Ideal said they had a technical problem. Now I'm assuming all of you can hear me, right? I was asking some volunteer from GEC to comment on that algorithm there. What did they think of that algorithm there? GEC is quiet today. So why don't we move to uh, Ideal or Aditya? Can anyone comment on on that algorithm there. Don't feel shy, okay? It's not like if you say something, the other student will get upset or something like that. No, absolutely nothing like that. I'm just having some, okay, they cannot hear. No, we cannot. Wow, that's surprising. Okay, let's see. Why? Let me check my audio.
Sir, your audio is clear here.
Why GEC is not able to hear? None of them at GEC are able to hear. So then GEC, can you hear me now?
Hello, Gudluwalar Engineering College. Hello.
Can you hear me, Andy, from Goodlavalero? Okay. I'll say hello, GEC. Can you hear me? Okay, they are not able. I'll say everyone else is able to hear me. That means maybe your audio is not working. Okay, so Aditya said that they have a campus recruitment training, so they cannot participate in the session. Okay. Okay, that's fine. What about Ideal? Can you guys hear me? Let me do the check. I'm just checking with every college. GEC is not able to hear me. Chakravarti garu can hear me. Ideal, can you hear me? Okay. Do you have students today? The question is for Ideal. Okay. Chakravarti garu, what do you want to do? GEC, the people with the students, they cannot hear. Any suggestions?
Sir, I think they should check their audio settings. Uh, in the audio
Good.
connection, they should make a choice of using computer for audio.
Okay, so why don't you put that in the chat for everyone? That way they can see it. Can you put it in chat or do you want me to put it?
Yes, sir. I'll put it.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise generally GEC is very active.
Yes, yes.
Today they were not responding, means they could not hear the audio properly. Okay. So Ideal, did Ideal students send any of the work to my email? I was not sure. I know I received it from Aditya and GEC. I've not received anything from JNTUV or. Okay, GEC is saying, please call me on 9618-719-229. Okay, I will try to call you now.
Sir, not GEC. I'm
Oh,
telling to.
you are telling. Okay, okay, I saw it. Okay, got it. Then you will tell them how to fix the audio.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, no problem.
I think now they can hear.
Okay, let them.
Sir, now they can hear.
Okay, let's see. GEC, can you? I'm just confirming here. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Now we are in business. Okay. So the question that I asked was I put some papers out there. And then I said, let's take I wanted somebody from GEC to comment on that algorithm. Some student, I don't know who wrote this test paper, right? If those students are there, they can comment on it, or any other student can comment on it. This one was done by Swati and Shravana Kalyani. Okay, so let's take somebody from JNTUV. Welcome. Welcome, JNTUV.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Andy. Good morning. So what we are doing is I received a whole bunch of test papers back from GEC and Aditya. So I just opened up a couple of exam papers here. Somewhere they are here, and then we are trying to do a little bit of discussion around that.
Sir, now the session will be interesting because Tirmal Rao is there.
I know. We are missing Tirmal Rao garu. So, and then we took I think this was the one on Kuntano from GEC.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Pardon? Yeah, they did a good job. And then, but when it came to algorithm here at the bottom, they wrote some algorithm, and I'm asking for some discussion or feedback on that algorithm. So they call it as algorithm for adopting a village. Okay. So they wrote some steps. And then there's step number 5, calling the person is checking whether the budget is sufficient to satisfy the requirements or not. So they wrote like this in parentheses. So I'm asking for somebody to comment on that part of the algorithm. It's open for everyone. I just said GEC, but if someone else wants to discuss that, that's fine too. Do you want? Okay, since I want to generate some interaction there, with all due respect to the students, I would say they did not do a good job in this place. I'm rolling my dice. I'm saying they didn't do a good job. Now, who wants to comment on that? Why did I say they did not do a good job on that part? And I also opened the discussion for faculty members, Tirmal Rao garu. Students,
Sir,
faculty, anyone is welcome to discuss that.
I'm just getting into the class. Once I get into it, I'll get back to you.
I know. I'm just letting you know. How about we ask GEC faculty members to pitch in there. I see a couple of them sitting in the front. Madam, మీ పేరు చెప్పాలి.
Raghavamshi, sir.
Raghavamshi.
Yes, sir.
Okay, చెప్పండి. So, what do you think of that? I'm saying it's not good, that part.
Sir, actually, my students, they have done their best, sir. Maybe that may be up to the marks, sir.
Okay.
But they have done their job, sir.
That I agree. Remember in the beginning I said I looked at the papers. They looked very nice. By the way, their writing is so good. I wish I could write so well. My daughter also looked at it. She said, Papa, first thing my daughter asked me when I was looking at this, said, how did they do? Then I told them they did well. Told her rather. Then she asked me how many points I'm giving to this particular paper. So I looked at just this small algorithm. I say I would remove 10 points for this test paper. Right there.
Sir, actually, we had some pre-placement training classes, sir, in our college till 8 o'clock, sir, that day. And after 8 o'clock, they had only a very little time, sir, to do their
Got it.
assignments. But
Got it.
till 2 o'clock, they have done this work, sir. I
Oh,
mean,
obviously.
night 2 o'clock, they have done this, sir. So they have tried their best, sir. But maybe,
No, no, it is. Believe me, the reason I'm bringing it out is I really liked what they have done. I'm just saying I'm removing 10 points, but of course, my daughter, your students should thank my daughter. She negotiated with me. She said, Papa, don't take more than 5 points away. So,
sir, thanks from our side also, sir. From our students also, sir.
yeah, I mean, that's actually what you have done is good. There's no right or wrong answer, right? I can understand. But if I were you, the reason I'm discussing these things is right. When you get into algorithm level, I'm sure all of you know that this is okay for the first pass, right? Maybe if they had a little bit more time, they can go into more details.
Yes, sir.
Okay, as long as they're aware of that, right? That's what I'm trying to convey. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But this is, I actually looked at about 4 or 5 different papers like that from GEC.
Okay,
Uh,
sir.
the level of uh, detail that they have shown in almost all of those projects was very nice. Looked very creative. So I'm very happy with
Okay,
that.
sir.
Okay, so just let the students know that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Still ding a few points here and there, right? There's no such thing as a perfect paper, remember? So if I tell them this is perfect, then they will stop learning.
Yes, sir.
So,
That's true, sir.
so but that's good. I'll tell you why this is very important first step. Uh, I know that JNTU, they have to send me the papers, but as a next step towards this one, we have another, 3 or 4 weeks, right? I think the last session is sometime around November 10th or something like that. If they want to extend it by another week or two, I'm fine with that. I don't have any problem. But what I want to do is, I will write here for you in the slide deck. So that way everyone understands what I want to achieve in the next few weeks. Let me create a new slide. So game plan for the rest of the term while the lectures are going on. So remember the big thing that we need to do is project, right? Somebody sent me a list of the projects from that college. Which was that? Was it Vijayanagaram or was it Aditya? I don't remember. Somebody said this student shows this project, this student shows this project.
Sir, we have sent from GEC, sir.
You have sent it from GEC, right? Now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If they have not, what my thought process is, at least it's applicable to rest of the teams in the other colleges. If GEC also wants to adopt that same thing that I'm about to say, I'm okay with that. This is what I have in mind. Okay. So the midterm at 3 projects, right?
Yes, sir.
And then we had teams of 2, right?
Yes, sir.
Teams of 2. Now that basically means there were several teams of 2 working on the same project, right?
Yes, sir.
So what I want to do is, and each one did their own problem statement. Each one came up with their own use cases, right?
Yes, sir.
I want those teams to combine now into teams of 4.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I'll explain it pictorially also. And whatever midterm project that they worked on, let's say there were 2 teams, let's assume two teams worked on adopt a village. Okay. Merge these two teams. I'm saying merge only up to two teams. That is meaning maximum size project size is 4, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Merge these two teams and let them finish the project. That will be their project. So they are basically building on their midterm, right? You all understand? Tirmal Ragaru is shaking his head. That means he understood. So that is what I call it as a constant reinforcement, right? It's basically you are iterating through the same thing throughout the term. So by end of the term, you have a working solution and you feel very good that you have accomplished something. Okay. So you don't have to start a new project. You can continue to work on what you did in the midterm and take it to more in depth. Except now you, instead of having teams of 2, you are now joining hands with another team so that we have 4 people. So it will become much easier for you to show some really good stuff at the end of the session. Tirumala, the faculty members, does it make sense to you, Andy? Even GEC?
It looks pretty good, sir. Students will get enough time. If the midterm project is converted into their project, then it will be really good for them. There will be a lot of learning session and practice sessions, sir. That's a good idea from your side, sir. I appreciate that.
Excellent, excellent. Now let's hope that students like it too. If they don't like it, we can't implement it. What about students? Do you like the idea? You can just raise your hands. Okay, I see a lot of them raising hands. See? Yeah. That's all it is. It's just a constant reinforcement of your learning. Okay, excellent. So let us implement it like that. Now, which two members join the faculty members can take care of that and send me an updated list for the project teams. Okay. Now, for people who have not submitted the midterm yet, when do you think you people can send it to me? I received a lot of projects from GEC and Aditya.
By Monday, it will be updated to your site, sir. Sir, how should I send it, sir, actually?
The way the GEC and all they did, GEC, what they did was the faculty member collected everybody's hard copy.
Sir.
They scanned all the assignments and then they one email for me.
Achha, email is enough. Okay, sir.
Yeah, for me, yeah, email is enough. For me, email right, only. Now, whereas Aditya, I think I have multiple students sending them individually to me.
Okay.
So whichever way it is done, I like the way the GEC has done because it's all in one email. I can track it better.
That's integrated. I'll do that, sir.
Okay. If it's not too much trouble for you. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it, sir. Affirmatively, I'll do it.
Okay. If you can send it to me, let's say by the next class, like Monday, that should be good enough.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay. Chakravarti garu, Miru, you have to take care of that in JNTU Kakinada.
Okay, sir.
Ideal and all, I assume you can also take care of it and send it to me. Okay, great. So what are we going to learn today? Something different, right? We said, this is what we said. The only thing that is constant is change. So far, if you see, we have pretty much covered the entire software development lifecycle. You know how to start with a problem statement and take it to almost a high level solution stage. Okay. Now, with that working knowledge, if anyone asks you to do something, now you know it. You know the agile process steps, you know how to draw use cases, you know how to draw ER diagram, you know how to draw activity diagram. So your job is guaranteed now. Okay. Except you have to go a little bit deeper, which you will go anyway when you do the project. Now, one of the key things, once we develop the software, what happens? Even before the software is released, something happens to that project. Can you guess what that is? Even while the software is being developed, there is something else going on. Even when you're developing it, you probably would have witnessed that even when you were submitting the paper, when you were doing the midterm, and when you scanned it and you emailed it, right then they said, oops, I should have included this other use case, right? So that is what we mean by change or evolution. It is never constant, right? That's why you have different versions. Now that change or that evolution does not begin after the project is over. It begins even while you are designing and implementing a solution. You understand the difference? It is not done after the project. It happens even during the course of your project execution. So that is a change. So what is change management? Change management in a nutshell is nothing but how do you manage that change? So I'm building a product. All of a sudden my client comes to me and says, hey, can you add this additional feature? Right? How do you deal with that? So this chapter focuses on that evolutionary aspects. Now the good thing for us is since we are, at least in today's world, 90% of the projects are done through agile methodology, right? Agile by definition, somebody is saying unable to participate in this session. Okay, I understand that. One second. Okay. So agile by definition says, hey, change happens so rapidly by iterating through these 2 to 3 week life cycles. It's very easy for us to incorporate those changes. Okay. General rule of thumb, what agile says is true. But if you recall from our earlier discussion, it depends on the type of project, right? If it is standard run of the mill application type of software, like an e-commerce site or a online bookstore, library system, things like that, whatever it says is true, right? So the cycles are short. Any new changes come, you can always put it in the next cycle because next cycle is only 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away. However, when you are developing mission critical applications or system software like products, if you take Microsoft Office Suite or Skype, these are heavy duty products. It's not easy to incorporate those changes on the fly like that. It requires some kind of a thought process, right? So all of those things form the gist of this chapter. As always, my plan is not to go through each and every slide. I will use them as talking points and then you can review those things and then do some reading and then you can always get back to me with questions. Okay. So these are the topics that we'll cover. Let me have the 1 second. I want to put it in some kind of a mode here where I'm not able to see the chat here. Give me 1 second. I need to rearrange my window here. I wanted to leave my windows open so that way I can see if somebody is putting something in chat. Okay. If you're not able to read the slide, I'll expand it. Let me know. Okay, so these are the topics. So let's brief through that. So change is everything goes in change, right? Requirements keep coming while you're doing the software. We have to take care of that. The business changes. Okay, business changes happen all the time. Right now, I mean, I joined in this particular project in Cisco about 2 years ago. I've seen at least 6 different business changes, and we are in the midst of a new business change right now. Okay, now what are the critical things that we need to be aware of, right? Is first of all, developing software is expensive. So organizations spend millions and millions of dollars in development of software. Okay. I remember my team about 6-7 years ago developed an entire training operations automation software for a group in Cisco. It costed them almost, by the time all said and done, it costed them almost like $600,000. Okay, very expensive. Software is very expensive. Okay, now when you have all that expense, one of the major expenses really is about maintaining the software and then enhancing the software. Okay, so a lot of times once they have a baseline, they are spending more and more on extending the software that already exists. Okay, standard typical spiral model of development. They all remember when I say spiral and all these things are applicable in the context of agile. Okay, so you have this constant stream of releases, release 1, release 2, release 3, and so on. Specify, you design, implement, test and validate, deploy, then you go back to the next version and so on. Okay. Okay. So when you are talking about software evolution, at some point of time, there's something called end of lifing, right? We end of
I have a
products.
question here.
Go ahead.
Sir, the business strategy and the development strategy, both are actually, I feel like contradictory. I mean, suppose a CEO changes every 10 months, obviously he will be changing the business policies basing on his experience, but the development team doesn't change. The development strategy will be almost going on in the same way. Now, is there any scenario, have you ever seen, how do the people cope up with those kind of scenarios, sir? When the development team feels that the project manager feels the development strategy is correct, but the CEO who has joined newly, every 10 months they are changing, they are feeling the business strategy is not properly being adapted because the development strategy is pretty static.
Correct. So that's a constant battle between the technical guys and the business guys, right? Because of that, there is no right or wrong way, right? It all depends on the type of organization that is, right? And how nimble and how adaptable the organization is, right? Uh, in companies here, at least in Silicon Valley, uh, bigger companies, I'm not talking about very small companies like if Cisco's, HP's, and so on. Uh, generally, when a CEO comes, whatever projects that are there, they usually at the strategic level, at the CIO level, let me talk at the CIO level there, right? There's always some strategy sessions where you're giving the CEO a snapshot of all the existing strategic initiatives, right? Like let us say if the CIO has a project which is putting together a Tableau project. Most of you have heard about Tableau system, right? Tableau is a rendering interface. A lot of data analytics involved when it happens. They are all rendered through Tableau. Okay. Now, most of the Tableau things are related to financial data, the company performance data, and so on. That's a very big strategic initiative. So when a CIO says, hey, this is one of the strategic initiatives that I have that's going on, the CEO, if he or she is in the right mind, they would not kill that project. They would continue with that project because you are getting business intelligence out of that project, right? But
Sir.
if the CIO says, hey, I have this small pet project that I'm doing, which is internal to CIO office to keep track of some projects like a project dashboard or something not business does not have a business impact, then CEO or his staff reserve the right to either make a decision to continue or kill the project, right? It depends on what the business objectives are for the CEO. If you are bringing a CEO whose first and most important business objective is to cut costs, right? Then they are going to be killing a lot of projects. There's no doubt about it. A lot of engineers, like I know, like how many of you remember several years ago, more than a decade ago, there was this camera type of, there was a camera, Flipkart, not Flipkart, it was called flip phone or something for taking pictures. Cisco bought it for $600 million. Couple of years down the road, they decided they are not going to be in the consumer space. Okay, new VPs, new executive VPs, CEO office got changed. The CEO was still there, but the office itself, new staff. Overnight, they decided to close that entire division that they just got 1 year ago for 600 million. All those engineers in the division lost the job because the project got killed, right? That is the reality of life. From the future bright engineers here in this classroom here that I see, that's something that you should be aware of, and it becomes all the more important for you to excel in what you do, right? The guy with competence is never afraid of losing a job, right?
Sir, I have another question here.
Tell me.
How do this internal tool development in big companies enhance the productivity? How far they are enhancing the? Is there any empirical value, sir?
Plenty of data, Andy. There's plenty of data. When you talk about internal tool development, I'm assuming what you're referring to is how do you track all these projects? What kind of mechanisms you give to the developers and the product managers to keep track of the progress of the product or the project, right?
Apart from that, the companies develop some internal tools to enhance the productivity. Some internal tools which is useful for those kind of similar projects in a better way.
Got it. That's a good one. So what we typically do now in today's world, it's all about collaboration, right?
Sir.
It's all about collaboration. Now, collaboration has multiple facets to it. One of the important elements of collaboration is knowledge sharing. So they are using more and so what Jive is, it's a collaboration software. So people work together in Jive. So what we do is we create what is known as a community. Okay. And then we share documents. We share best practices. If you have any questions, we post it in the community. Somebody would answer those questions. So that way, let's say if a programmer is stuck on something, I'll give you one example. If a programmer is stuck on some code, something that they are not able to solve, they just post it in the community and suddenly somebody would answer that, right? Instead of me struggling to solve it for 2 or 3, I would just post it there, get the answer in 5 minutes. Automatically my productivity goes up, right? So there's a predominant usage of collaboration software in all medium to large enterprises. Actually in every enterprise. Okay, so look up Jive software. Jive is a fantastic platform which fosters collaboration and teamwork. Okay, now another thing that you may be interested in. What we do, like on a day-to-day basis, we use Jive, by the way, in Cisco. I use Jive. We also use another thing called Box. Have students used Box? You all heard about Dropbox, right? Raise your hands if you heard about Dropbox or Box. Is anyone raising the hands? Yeah. So what is it used for? I see a lot of people in GEC raising hands. Do you use Box? You heard about it. How many of you use Box? Not many perhaps, because you are really not in the working world, right? So we use Box as a collaboration tool. That is where we post all of our documents. We produce a lot of documents related to process, the business rules, right? Documents, process flow diagrams. If I were to take you to, let me take you to something here. Do you see my screen here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is my box structure there. For my team, Cisco Rewards, that is the partner loyalty and partner rewards team. We maintain this. This is our own.
Not visible, sir.
It's not visible?
Not, sir.
Okay, I thought I'm sharing my screen. Oh, Goodlavaleru was trying to share something. That's okay. Can you see it now?
It's. I think it's a pop-up, sir. It is coming dark.
Yeah, it should come back because I took the
Yeah, it's
control
coming.
away from GC. Okay, so here is a box instance for Cisco where we run a program called Cisco Rewards. That's the CR. And you can see I created different folder structures, right? And then I have different people here on the right. You see this one here? So I'm the owner of this thing, and then I have co-owners. And then I invite people to share documents. So if I put something there, I can go and send you an email, and you can become either a co-owner or editor or different access rights, right? You see the access rights there? Like editor, co-owner, viewer, different, right? So these are the internal tools today that we use, Box and Jive, predominantly to enhance our productivity. Okay. And then if you look at, like, for example, when I create process flows, you can see all these, like another important thing that we do here to enhance productivity. I mean, these are all the tricks of the trade. If it comes up, I can show it to you. It's a little bit hard to see this one. Let me open it up in a different way. Let me download it. No, I want to download it. Download. Let me open it up. Do you see my Excel should have come up? Do you see my Excel that came up? So for example, the way we enhance other productivity amongst team members is we create what is known as a RACI chart. How many of you heard about RACI? Anyone heard about RACI here? Okay, so what RACI, okay, excellent. So what RACI is, R stands for responsibility, A is for accountability, C is consult, and I is for inform. So whenever we are doing projects, most of these projects tend to be cross-functional, enterprise-oriented projects, right? There are 10, 15 people involved. maybe at least anything above 7, you want to create it. So what we typically do is we create all the tasks related to the project. And I follow a model in the context. We have different phases called plan, analyze, design, develop. And then anything to do with this project, there's always a marketing and communication involved because you're developing it for some audience, right? One of the things as developers we fail to uh, address is marketing and communications, right? You have to communicate with your stakeholders, your launch plans, release plans, all of those things. So what we typically do before even the project starts, we brainstorm and come up with all the tasks and who is responsible for it. Okay, if you look at row 2 here, right? I'm the who takes care of project managing it. I'm responsible for it. PC is my name. Let me open the door. Give me 1 second, guys. I have to open the door for my dogs. Actually, this RACI is one of the things that I was going to assign as a task once the project teams are formed, by the way. Whenever you have more people, it's important to have a clearly defined set of roles and responsibilities, right? So in this case, I'm saying I'm responsible. What does accountable mean? Accountable means she's like our manager. She is the overall manager. If the project fails, she gets fired. Anything goes wrong, she is accountable to the upper management. Now, in the process of doing these things, we consult with different people because we want to get their input, right? And then ultimately, after we do all of these things, we have to inform who our stakeholder is. They're called I. So as you can see here, the R and A's are very important because who is going to do the work, right? If somebody does not work, like I'll give you one example for this online class, right? I conducted an exam to all of you, right? So I'm responsible to make it happen, but who is accountable really? The accountable is really your faculty members, right? If you notice GEC or Aditya and all, they had to collect the papers from you. They had to scan it and email it to me. Now, if I don't get the papers, who do you think I would blame? I would blame faculty members, right? I would not blame the students. Hey, you are accountable to get me all the papers, right? So that is how you fill this thing out. So by doing these kinds of techniques, uh, uh, it provides us a framework of checks and balances to ensure that the team is working very productively. Got it? I do not know if I have the other thing. Let me see if I can show one more thing here while I'm in this document. Let's see if I go here. Collaboration. Give me 1 second. I wanted to show you something. Yeah, there it is. I think it might be here still. So we onboarded a complete training organization where we use the agile methodology. So I was going to show you. There it is. I'm clicking on this document called user stories. Do you see that there? I don't know if this is the latest one. Let's see. I don't remember which one was that. Okay, let me expand it. See how the user stories are created in an Excel sheet.
Can you do more expanded?
I can expand it more. I have a better way of doing it. Hold on. Let me close this preview. Not preview. No, I didn't want to do this. My mistake again. Why am I not? Okay, more. Okay. I could actually download capability ఉండాలి ఇక్కడ. వీళ్ళు download capability. Okay. ఎక్కడో ఇక్కడ download capability disable చేశారో ఏదో చేశారు ఇక్కడ. But I can, there's a way of downloading it. Hold on, right? Save as, okay. No, I save it as that one, okay. Let me try to zoom it then. Can you see it now?
Somehow the form is able to see, sir. Yeah, a little bit clear now.
Better now?
Yeah, little bit, sir. Now it is better,
Okay.
sir. Now it is better.
Yeah. So all it is, so we say these are all the user stories for a project, okay? So in this case, what we are saying is, like, I'm a Cisco partner and I need all the files for training, okay? So how do I look up all those files and all that? Now, where does it, in which category it falls under on the site? It's a search, okay? So this is how you fill out all the user stories and go implement them, okay? And this was just I'll put it in the community for you, okay? So these are all the things, Sandy. Basically, this is what we do. So for your project also, your students should be creating those user stories. Remember, I told you you'll all be going deep. So when you go deep, that's where you would be creating all of these things. Okay, and then communications plan. See this one? Everything is done very systematically, right? But one thing that students should be aware of is there's a ton of project management related work that we do here. Even though people say agile and we don't produce documents, we do produce documents because documents is what enables you to keep progressing, right? If you don't produce any documents, it'll be very tough. Okay. Any questions? Students are quiet today. Do you have any questions, students? So basically you will be doing all of these things, including RACI for your project. Okay, you'll get practice on all of these documents. Okay, I go back here. Okay. So what does evolution mean? Basically, you design and develop software and it's operational. That means it is running, people are using the system. And then once it is rolled out, you're already talking about the next release. Okay. Like I can actually show you one more Excel sheet here. If it is still open, if I say file recent, 1 second. Yeah. Do you see my sheet here? So here is do I have the correct sheet? Hold on. I don't have the correct sheet. Let me open the right one here for you. You're seeing all my proprietary information there. But pretend that you have not seen it. Okay. So here is for our own product. You can see here our vendor is called Carlton. It's a SaaS solution, software as a service. We use that vendor and that vendor's name is Carlton. So they customized it to Cisco. Okay. And I'm keeping track of the releases. This is the release date. They released it on 25th of August. And these are the big things that went as part of the release. Okay. Now that same release, Cisco got it. We released on 6th of October. That's last week, right? Literally 1 week ago. And then these are the Cisco specific things that went as part of the release. Okay. Now you can see our next release, Q release. It's coming up next week, literally. And then we keep track of it like that. So these are all fairly easygoing things. But how do I fill these things? What goes into the release and all that? I have another tab called development requests. So remember, the system is live, right? As we continue to perform operations, we keep getting new requests all the time. Okay. So we keep track of these requests like this, and then we prioritize. And then when we are doing the release planning, we say which of these things go into which release. Okay. So there's always some manager, project manager, who is responsible to keep track of these things. Okay. Have you people heard about the tool called Jira? Another tool that I would write here for you. Look up Jira. Okay. Student, that'll be useful for you. Okay. Jira is like, we used to have a tracking tool called Remedy. I'm sure faculty members know those tools like Remedy and all. We used to have these bug tracking tools, but they evolved now, right? So Jira is kind of like a tracking tool for both bugs, development items, and everything. Okay. Most of them are nothing but glorified Excel spreadsheets, right? They're programmatically done. Okay. Okay. So that is that. So when you're talking about servicing the software, that's where you're getting into maintenance mode, doing some minor enhancements, right? And then at some point of time, you will phase out. Like my team maintained a system called LSTAT for some group since 2004. Okay. After 10 years, 11 years, we are phasing that out this month. Because that was built, when we built that one, it was built on an Access database. All of you probably are familiar with Access database there. Okay. And VB script. In today's world, we don't talk about those things. We talk about OpenSQL, SQL Server, right? Web technologies, web services, the entire platform, the new platform based on these technologies. So the old one is simply going to be phased out. You cannot keep on adding to an old one, right? At some point, you have to let it go. Kind of like an old car, right? After 10 years, the cars don't work. 10 or 12 years. You just have to buy a new car. Okay. Okay. Now, how it evolves, it depends on what type of software, what kind of development paradigms you have. There are lots of dependencies which dictate what kind of evolution processes you have. Okay. And then we have to place emphasis on change management. How do we identify change? How do we zero in on evolutionary processes? So there is some kind of question that you ask. Okay. So how does it typically flow in the industry? So somebody submits a change request, right? One of the buzzwords that you hear in the industry is this impact analysis. Okay. Whenever somebody wants to change something, the first thing I tell them is, okay, let's study the impact of it. Like this morning, I had just literally this morning, we had our data analytics team. And then they wanted us to give them a new type of report on budgeting. Okay. The first thing I said was, okay, in order for you to get those things, I need to maintain some new information in the system. So I do not know what is the impact of that. So I had to do an impact analysis document for them. Okay. Now, after I do that, then I say, okay, let's plan for the release. What is the timeline? Are we going to release it ad hoc, or are we going to tie it with a planned release that we already have, which is coming up end of October? So all that planning has to be done, followed by implementing it and then releasing the system. Forward, nothing. Okay. GEC had to leave. Okay. Okay. Questions, comments on that so far? Okay. Chapan Tirumalagar, you have a question?
No, sir, it's fine, sir.
Oh.
Can you just enlarge the PPT, sir, presentation?
Oh,
Is it possible?
definitely. I can do that. Can you see it now?
It's popping up, sir.
Yeah.
Now it's fine, sir.
Okay. So basically, when you are doing every iteration, you go through the complete software development process, and then you design, implement, and test. One of the things that you would learn as part of this releases is you do what is known as regression testing, right? Whenever you change something, you have to rerun all the tests that you have done in the previous release. Because in the process of adding new things, you don't want to break the old things. That is where regression testing comes into play, to ensure that all the things that were working in the past would work on the new system too. Okay. Now,
Some light on program slicing.
yes, where are you reading that one here? Okay. So, Tirmal Raghav asked me about program slicing, right? How are you defining program slicing? Let me ask you that first, because it means different things to different people.
The aspect of debugging a program.
Okay, that is one way of looking at program slicing. You're looking at from a debugging viewpoint, right? So what it is basically is, right, when what Tirmalagaru just said is, it's an aspect of debugging a program, right? To slice, that's one of the terms that we use, right? Slice and dice, we say. What it basically means is you're compartmentalizing it, right? So remember we talked about component level stuff in modeling, right? So when you are slicing and dicing, right, depending on what your business objective is, you focus on the module which is relevant to that business objective. Okay, so let us say when you're changing something, like if I implemented my system now I suddenly want to change the entire user experience, the UI. I'm giving an example. Okay, I want to change the UI. Now, in terms of my program slicing and dicing, where I need to focus on mostly when I'm testing the code, I should be focusing on that aspect of the backend software which deals with the UI, because that is what I'm changing, correct? So there is a mapping that happens. It's not like change management means you change one small component and you have to focus on everything. Yes, you have to do regression testing, but you tie whatever change is happening to where in the system that is getting in, that is showing its impact. That is where you focus on. Bullet here that captures it very well, right? So you're really understanding whatever change that you're trying to do. Okay, I have a certain program structure. I'm trying to change or add some new functionality. What is the impact of that on the program that we have? Is it going to change the structure, or the structure remains the same? It is going to impact only one module, right? Another classic example that I can give you is most of the time in ATM machines, the banking examples that we took, in the good old days, it was only username and password, right? Has that ATM evolved now? I don't know whether ATMs in India evolved to the extent where they now do bioscan of your eye, retina scanning. In addition to typing my username password when I go to an ATM or password, it also looks into my eye and then verifies that I am who is doing the transaction. That's an evolution, right? So the guy who designed that, then obviously when they're adding that bio or retina scanning functionality at the UI, they would focus on the authentication and authorization module within that system, right? Because this deals with authentication and authorization. Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, if the program slicing is in the context of UML architecture models, how do I define that?
Can you come again?
Program slicing in the aspect of UML architectural models.
Yeah. Okay. Program slicing in the context of UML architectural models. How do you deal with that? Is that what your question is? So I heard Tirmal Ragaru say, how do you deal with program slicing in the context of UML architectural models? That's how I understood his question. You're talking about change management. Remember, we said change management involves not only analysis, but design also, right? And implementation. You are not skipping any step. So when I have to analyze, that means I'm understanding the problem. I'm seeing where the impact of the change is going to be, right? I know based on that, hey, this is going to impact at this particular logic layer level or at the database level, right? So when I then go to the design phase, I'm looking at the UML architecture for that, right? And I'm saying, hey, is this change, if you're talking about UML language, I say, hey, is this change localized to this class? Or is it change localized to a set of classes, which we call it as category, right? So you're basically mapping that all the way from the requirement stage to your architecture model stage, right? And architecture maps to all these class diagrams map to the respective code, right? Every class in the class diagram, you would have a code template for that, right? So that's how you track it. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay, then of course you have all the pressures, right? Oh, this is an important thing. The second bullet there. If changes to the system environment happen, okay? Very, very relevant example to me. I'll tell you why. My programmer has been working for the last 3 months, 3 or 4 months almost, on iOS app, okay, to build a video editing feature. People who use my app, they can create this mobile content on iPad using iPad as a drawing board. Okay. Once you create that, that's a video content. But we never gave users a capability to edit the video. So we said, okay, we'll give it now. So he worked on that for more than 3 months. Is it Wednesday or Thursday of this week? Let's assume that. Okay. That morning, Apple announces a upgrade of their operating system. Okay. Now, what does the programmer do? What is the impact on the programmer? Can somebody tell me what is the impact of that?
Can you just brief it out again, sir?
Yeah. So I said my programmer developed this product for iOS. Okay. About to release the product, right? Our video editing feature was ready. Monday morning, we did our team meeting. It's ready to go. Okay. That evening or literally next day, he was going to submit the app to the Apple guys because they go through some QA and all that before they let it go to the shop, right? But that Monday afternoon, Apple released a new version of iOS. Okay, before my programmer was able to submit to Apple. So what is the choice that my programmer has at that point of time?
The total business is gone then.
Yeah, almost right. You're right. But no, I mean, it's not that bad. The new iOS operating system, right? When you're doing product development, there are a lot of operating system dependencies, right? So he had to test it against the new operating system to ensure that the product works, right? And guess what? The product did not work. Then he spent another 1 month, literally day in and day out. The guy was putting 18-hour work days. Okay. He finally sent it to Apple 2 days ago, this week. It was supposed to have been gone out the September 4th weekend, September 7th. It went out 2 days ago, October 12th. Okay. It's an unexpected thing, right? We cannot control certain things. Now, when those urgent things happen, what do? There is no systematic process. You just make it happen, right? So sometimes you compromise on the processes to ensure that we still go through the motions fast and release it in the marketplace. Because to me, it's a critical product, right? If my competitor releases that product, then I lose. Got it? Okay, let me continue. Bugs happen. Let's say if you wrote an application where you're calculating commission structures for the salespeople. All of you in India, you all understand real estate, right? There's a big, what do you call it, multi-layer scheme or multi-level marketing and all that they have, right? And then they are all based on commission structures, right? Imagine there's an automation system to calculate commissions, and suddenly one fine day, somebody in your group finds out, oops, we are paying more commission to these agents. The owner would not more commission, right? The agents won't complain because they're making more money, but the owner discovered it. So you quickly put together your team. You are going straight to the code. You're not saying put that requirement in a requirements document. Let's analyze, let's do the impact, nothing like that. You are gathering your team members, you're going straight to the code, trying to localize exactly in which part of the code you are doing the mistake of calculation, you go fix it. Okay, so what this should tell you students is this. Theory is one. They were given by some very well-known professors, right? Who are doing research. I mean, I'm an adjunct professor, Tirmal Rao Garu is a professor, We should not be critiquing ourselves, but the reality is most of these guys, they are sitting in this university, or in those days, they never even wrote a piece of code in their life. And then they gave us all these methodologies, right? Oh, you should do it like this, you should do it like that. What practical wisdom they had to tell us this is how it should be done, right? So some of these things came about like agile basically is nothing but, I always joke, agile methodology is nothing but structured chaos. It is still chaotic, okay, but a little bit more structure to it. So you as future computer science engineers, you should move seamlessly from working in a framework where everything is done systematically, and in an instant it would change and say, just get it done. Don't tell me about process and all that, just get it done. So you should be able to go both ways. Okay. Now, the good thing, as I told you about agile method, is it is amenable for evolution because our increments are small. In 2 to 3 weeks, we are always producing a new series of new revision of a product. So things move faster. But as I mentioned earlier, regression testing is very important, as it says here. Always make sure you test your code. Okay. And last point here, changes may be expressed as additional user stories. Remember, I showed you an example of a user story Excel sheet, right? You just keep adding the user stories to that. Okay. User story is another name for scenario. If you are talking, if you're familiar with UML, in UML, these are all called scenarios. Okay, user scenarios. Again, this is theory, but in reality, these types of problems are not really there because the teams are fairly nimble, right? What here he says is, hey, if the development team uses agile approach, but the evolution team, meaning the guys who manage change, they are not familiar with agile methodologies and they want plan. Everything has to go like, remember we talked about the waterfall life cycle, right? Plan, design, plan, analyze, design, implement, test, release, right? So if there's a mismatch between these two different types of teams, it would have some impact. In a way, it is true, but typically when you are in an environment like this, what we do is, remember how Tirmal Ragaru asked me in the beginning, how do you keep all the teams productive? And I told him that, hey, we'll use this collaboration platform for knowledge sharing, right? So when you're working on a cross-functional team, one of the first things that we have to do is knowledge transfer. That's called level setting everyone. So everyone understands how it is going to be done. Okay. If you do not do that knowledge sharing, yes, you would have these handover problems. But if you implement proper knowledge sharing frameworks in your not eliminated. Okay. Okay. Now, legacy systems. What are legacy systems? These are very old systems, right? I do not know if you know this or not. What is the most used language in the world today? Can somebody tell me? In terms of how many programmers it is still being used and all that. What is the most used in the sense more people are working using that language in the world?
Is it COBOL, sir? Early 50s. I don't
Early
remember
50s.
that.
Exactly, early 50s. After that, so many great languages came, right? Pascal, C, C++, Java, C Sharp, right? all these things, but still COBOL is still there. Now, where do you think COBOL is being used? On all those old 1950s and 1960s machines. We call them the legacy systems. They are so old, their languages are old, their technology is old, right? But they are workhorses. Okay. All the business rules are built into that. Okay. And these are some of the challenges that you face. You can't even find those components. If it's kind of like saying you run a very old PC which has floppy disk drive, and your floppy disk drive fails. Can you go buy another floppy disk drive to insert in your PC now? Probably not, right? It takes a humongous effort to find another floppy drive, correct? So these are some of the challenges that you face in legacy systems. Same thing with application software. It's software because they moved on. That's another challenge that you might have. Okay. So with legacy system, there are more challenges. Okay. I'll skip some of these things. Okay. Now, what do you do with legacy systems? Today, there are systems which are so old, but they get the job done. And the guys in charge of it, they do not want to replace those systems because these are systems such as payroll processing systems where millions and millions of workers are getting paid every week. If I go to ADP, if I go tell them, hey, replace your old system, 50-year-old system with the new one, ADP would not do it because they say it works. It's too risky, right? If the pay doesn't go on time here in this country, you can get sued. Okay, so they don't want to take a chance. Okay, and on top of it, these legacy systems, they are so tightly integrated within their environment. It's like a pack of cards. You know, you build a house with a pack of cards. You say one card is slightly torn. Let me remove that. If you remove it, what happens to the rest of the card? They all fall down, right? It is like that with legacy systems. So it's very difficult to okay. And then of course they're very expensive too because old one, there's no correct programming style, there's no documentation. So all of these things would lead to more expensive repairs, so to speak. Okay. Okay, I'll skip some of these things. He gives some nice slides here, which I want you to review at leisure. How do you assess the systems, right? I'll spend a minute on this chart because there's some nice lesson to be learned here. So you have X and Y axis, right? So X is system quality and Y is business value. So you can see there are 4 bubbles here, right? Low business value, low quality. That is the top left corner here, this one. Okay, if you go to the right, it's low business value, high quality. Okay, and top right corner is really high business value, high quality. Okay, and this chart here is, I want you to look up after the class the following thing. Let me write it here. Have you heard about Gartner charts? Have you heard about the company Gartner? Go look up Gartner chart. They are very famous. When Gartner is like a market research organization, which is always producing these white papers on the technology trends, where the business is moving, what type of jobs would be there in the future, all kinds of things like that. Okay. And they are very well known to create these XY charts with 4 quadrants. Okay. So this is similar to that. So the author gives guidelines, right? If it is a low quality thing and a low business value, just junk the system. Okay. But low quality, high business value, you don't junk it, you evolve it in a methodical way. And that methodical way is called re-engineering. That is what we have done with that system that we have been maintaining since 2004. Before we junked it, we re-engineered it. That means we rebuilt it on a separate system. We run both the systems in parallel for 1 quarter, that is 3 months, to ensure that the results are the same for both the old and the new system, right? Once you're satisfied the results are the same, then you end of life the old. Which context you would replace it. Now, how do you assess the business value, right? There are a lot of ways. And this class is really not meant to teach you how to assess business value. But the way you assess it, what is the return on investment? The key term that we use in the industry is the term called, let me put it here. ROI. What does ROI stand for?
Return on investment.
Always do some ROI analysis, some kind of formulas, and based on that you make a determination whether to jump the system, go with a new one, and so on. Okay. So there's some criteria with that. Notice one thing here. If the system is not dependable, as in the third bullet says, right, then it has low business value, right? As a rule, when you have a low business value system, you want to replace it with a newer system. Okay. Because system is anyhow not giving you good value. So why hang on to it, right? Okay, I'll just skip some of these things. Okay. So other aspect of this one is, right, you can do in the industry what we talk about is measurements and metrics. So certain ways of assessing whether what your roadmap should be in terms of evolving your system, you gather data. Today, the big buzzword is data, right? It's all about data. Data analytics, data science, that's another buzzword that we use, right? You gather some real data to do an assessment of the quality of the system, right? So if there are too many changes that are being requested, the quality of the system is bad, right? Why do people request change? If they miss something in that system, right? And if they're missing everything every day, that means time to go to a new system. Okay. Interfaces. Does it have adequate interfaces to an enterprise ERP software? Right. So if there are more interfaces, then what happens? The dependencies are more, and in computer science term, the more dependencies you have, the more inconsistencies you will find. Okay. And then volume of the data. Okay. So why don't I do like this? I will stop here for today and answer questions, comments that you may have before we call it a night.
I think the students are listening it for the first time, sir. They are pretty much enlightened, I think. This particular
Nice.
stuff, I think, first time they're listening. So
Okay.
obviously they should go back and do some homework on this. It's a pretty interesting stuff. They should go back and read a bit.
Oh, absolutely. You are absolutely right. Because it's a very important chapter. Change management is crucial, right? People have to have a strong grip on that, right? Actually, in my PhD thesis, I can actually share a personal story here because I defined how dynamic collaboration should happen and how security is addressed, right? Yeah, some methods may be great, but to deal with change management, it's like moving heaven and earth, right? Then what good is that method, right? So I always say whenever somebody is proposing anything new in terms of methodology or techniques, always address change management, how easy it is to manage change with that new approach. If it is extremely difficult to manage change with that approach, then you should not be using that approach. Simple rule of thumb. Lot of researchers, like I'll give you an example. In security, we have a very famous model called role-based access control, RBAC. Tirumala, you might know that probably. Role-based access control.
Yes, yes, role based. Yes.
Yeah. Sandhu is a very world famous person. Okay.
Very simple thing we use in Unix, sir, that if I just press the ls command,
Yep.
for the students I give explanation, we have RWX, RX, RX. I
Correct.
start explaining different roles, users, owners, and groups.
Groups.
So that's a
Groups.
simple way I start explaining that.
Correct. Excellent example. That's an excellent example, right? But when Sandhu gave the original version, I mean, I'm not here to critique him because he's a pioneer, right? And he has produced more than 200 papers on that. Okay. So in system, so I studied it. I said, but how do you manage change? When roles change in Cisco, there are about 50 different hierarchies under which the employees can belong to. Sales hierarchy, employee hierarchy, job role hierarchy, this hierarchy like that, right? If somebody changes their role, you have to go change in 40 different places, right? So, but the research model never really addressed how to deal with that change. Of course, when it didn't address, that gave me an opportunity to address it, right, and publish a paper. Okay, but that is one of the pet peeves that I have. Don't give new methodologies unless. Note, I will stop here. As Tirumalogar said, I want you to carefully review this set of slides. I don't think I put them in the community yet. I'm going to upload it now. Let me check. I'll upload it now and you can download it and review it. And next class, we can discuss more.
Thank you very much, sir. Good night, sir.
Good night, Andy. Thank you. I'm uploading it right now. Have a wonderful day, Andy.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Andy. I'm uploading that slide deck now.
Okay, sir.
It's going to take a little bit time, Andy. The network is a little bit slow.
No problem, sir.
.95, 98%, almost done. Okay, looks like that is done. is the evolution that we talked about today. So what is the nearest airport to Vijayanagaram?
Sir, can you just come out again?
What is the nearest airport for Vijayanagaram?
Visakhapatnam, it's 1 hour journey, sir. On highway.
From Visakhapatnam to
Airport
Vijayanagaram,
to
1 hour.
Vijayanagaram, it takes 1 hour, sir.
Oh, only 1 hour. Oh, okay, that's not
Yes,
bad.
sir, yes.
And how is the weather there? Is it very hot or is it?
This, I mean, you are talking about climate, sir.
Climate there, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's summer, it's a bit sunny. In winter, it's bit, you like, just like, you'll have bit cold. I mean, bit of, not extreme, sir, but not average.
Okay. Oh, nice, nice. By the way, next chapter after this is dependable systems. I think you would like that.
Sir. It's partially tropical environment, sir.
Oh, no, very good. All I remember there is I used to come to Visakhapatnam. My Baba was a civil surgeon. So we used to get a lot of mangoes and a lot of fruits there. Students, if you have any questions, just send me email, okay? I'm generally awake 24/7. I go to bed around 1 a.m. or so. So I still have about 2 hours of work to do today after this class. So that makes it almost like 1:30 a.m. So.
My God.
Yeah, it's.
So how do you manage your biological time then, sir?
I don't know. As long as I can get 5 hours of sleep, I'm good.
Okay.
I've always been like that.
You make us feel guilty when we are very lazy in your aspect.
No. I mean, actually, believe me, if I can somehow get 6-7 hours of sleep, I will feel very good. But I don't.
Sir.